us about yourself. Okay, thank you very much. Courtney, tell us about yourself.
Hi, my name is Courtney Helion. I am a long-term renter in the city of El Cerrito. I first became aware of El Cerrito about 10 years ago when I met my husband. I was living in San Francisco, and when I was living in the Outer Sunset, the highlights of my week were taking the Muni to my two BART trains and spending the weekend here and just learning to love the city. Um, when I moved away for grad school, I was in Buffalo for 2 years. And at my going away party at the Asian Art Museum, I remember telling everybody that I was going to come back. And 2 years later, I was able to secure a position in Marin, and I was able to finally move to El Cerrito with my husband and with his children. Um, my professional background is in art conservation. I've had the opportunity of working at the National Archives and Records Administration and the National Gallery of Art in DC, as well as the Asian Art Museum, the Baltimore Art Museum, and the Walters Art Museum. And through working at those institutions, I learned how to work with varying stakeholders and individuals. And I learned how to be someone who compromises, somebody who asks questions, somebody who really values how institutions are run. Um, while I was at the Asian Art Museum, I also was a union shop steward and I became the head shop steward. And I negotiated a contract. Our union was SCIU 10 to 1, and I worked with them and negotiated a contract and bargained with management. And I really was able to support the workers. So I guess the reason I'm running for city council is when I moved back to El Cerrito in 2018, I had this opportunity. I had these two paths. I could choose to become more involved in professional organizations, or I could become more involved in my community. And I remember I was on Nextdoor and I saw a posting for the Arts and Culture Commission. And so I applied. And we had two meetings in person before COVID happened. So the beginning of my tenure on the Arts and Culture Commission was actually navigating COVID and how do we support our artists? How do we lift people's voices? How do we inspire? How do we create? How do we show up for one another in these spaces? And we had a lot of transition on the commission as people had to move. It's funny, I've been on it for 5 years, and I think I've now the current longest serving member. 2 of those years as the chair. And I want to take those experiences and I want to do more for our community. And that is what has led me to want to run for city council, to take all these varying facets of my life and put them together and collaborate and make our city better.
To make it fair, and then you'll all get the same question. El Cerrito is meeting their regional housing needs allocation numbers. What is your position on housing in El Cerrito?
Um, I am very much pro housing in El Cerrito as a long-term renter. A few years ago, my husband and I were at a crossroads of do we try to buy a house somewhere else or do we stay as long-term renters in El Cerrito? And we decided that we value our community and we decided that we wanted to stay here. I support housing here because I think other families should have opportunities for their children to walk to school, for their kids to take BART. El Cerrito really is kind of the hidden gem of the Bay. Like we kind of get lost between Albany and Berkeley and Richmond. And it's been exciting over the last few years to see more families moving in. It's been exciting to see the new housing developments go up. It's been exciting to see how the housing developments, there's the Public Art Fund and how everything is so interconnected. Like new housing brings new art, it brings new voices. One of the wonderful things about our diversity, and as Rebecca was saying, supporting all the different socioeconomic families in El Cerrito, I think we need to continue to have housing that supports that diversity within our city. So I'm very pro housing, and I'm not an expert, but I am excited to work with the experts and to learn and to again work with the stakeholders and find out what works better. Like there there are several right answers, and it's just about figuring out which right answer is the best one for our city. So, very pro housing.
Thank you, Courtney. El Cerrito has established several reserve funds and struggled to balance the budget this year. What is your perspective on El Cerrito expenditures? Courtney, how are you on expenditures?
It was really interesting to be chair of the only commission with its own budget during the last 5 years, trying to explain to the citizens of the city why the arts and culture budget couldn't just be absorbed into things like the general fund, or why it couldn't be used for city maintenance. So it's been interesting to kind of be sitting on the sidelines of that, while also trying to make sure that, like the city, we were able to have sustainable programming, and to kind of make sure that what we were doing, um, the money would last for a long time, knowing that with less developments happening, like again, like we had a limited financial source. I I think when it comes to the budget, and I think when it comes to spending money, I think that we really need to be approaching and talking with one another with respect, and like what Lisa and Rebecca were saying, like, and what William was saying, like learning how to ask the right questions, learning how to ask the tough questions, but also remembering that like we're all coming from the same place of wanting to ensure the long-term financial stability of our city, and being able to have those tough conversations like, well, what do we spend money on this year, what do we spend money on maybe next year, and kind of approaching things maybe through a tiered approach, like maybe we can do something now to kind of like kind of breaking things down into phases, maybe not spending all of our money at once, kind of doing a triage. Working at museums, we often had very tight budgets or very limited budgets, especially when I was at the National Archives. We had to be really diligent in what materials we were ordering or what exhibitions were going on. So I think approaching the budget and approaching expenditures with creative problem solving, and again, just being open and encouraging communication.
Thank you very much. El Cerrito needs to replace several of its aging buildings, including the library, public safety building, community center. What are your thoughts on capital improvements in El Cerrito? Courtney?
I agree with Rebecca about the information being disseminated earlier and also being more understandable. Being on the commission, like I've been very fortunate to have some really truly wonderful council and staff liaisons who have informed me as to like the decisions, the long-term planning, infrastructure goals. But walking around a national night out and talking to my neighbors, I realized so many of them do not actually understand the goals of city council, and being able to kind of be that linchpin, that person that explained Measure G and the importance of Measure G, that explained the importance of the library, that explained the importance of like funding our police department, funding our fire department, collaborating with Kensington, and explaining why this infrastructure is important. Um, yeah, I think clear communication, I think early communication, and I think I think it's important to make El Cerrito and to improve El Cerrito. Again, with libraries, like they're not just places for books. Like in San Francisco, libraries are where homeless people can go and have resources. And, the city, the fire department, like they're places where people can go to feel safer, to get more information about how to keep their neighbors safe. And I think to be good neighbors, we also have to be able to um, supply and maintain the spaces where we can be good neighbors. So, and communicating the necessity of those spaces.
El Cerrito is working on the climate action plan. What is your vision on how El Cerrito can address climate change? Courtney?
I agree with Rebecca about the importance of kind of limiting the amount of emissions through using public transportation, our bike paths, our sidewalks. I also think it's really important that we be working with the other cities along San Pablo and within our community, because if we're not collaborating, if we're not on the same page, then it's kind of like we're shouting into the void. We really need to be working together, and we really kind of need to be thinking about not just us as El Cerrito, but we need to be thinking about us as a part of Contra Costa County, us as a part of the Bay. Like, everything we do is so interconnected. I mean, the BART is this example of just how interconnected we are, and that can kind of be the path that we're looking at, the actual physical path on the map. So I think we need to be talking with other cities. We just really need to have open communication and to get on the same page. So,
What programs or initiatives will you promote for El Cerrito?
well, I will continue to support the creative voices in El Cerrito. One of the upcoming programs that we're hoping to work on is a pilot program through the Arts and Culture Commission with the Parks Department with transportation to install more bike racks in the city, but to also include public art
is
as
the
part of
host
that.
now.
So yes, I want to continue to support the public arts. I want to, sorry, that just totally threw me off right there, and I lost my train of thought. I guess I just really want people to feel empowered. So I want to figure out a way to kind of bring people into City Hall more, so people feel like it really is their building as well. Because it's not just City Council's building, it's not just staff members' building. And I really want to support initiatives where people feel like they have more opportunities to be heard and to be a part of local government and city government. I know that it's been really empowering to me to feel invested in my city. And I think when people are invested, wonderful things can happen, these beautiful collaborations and these, yeah, I want more people to come in the door and to be excited. Sorry about that. I want to thank you all for taking the time to hear me speak today. I dropped my website in the chat. I'm so proud to be endorsed by Lisa Motoyama and Greg Lyman. I've also been endorsed by the Contra Costa Building Construction and Trades Council. Throughout this process, I think the best part has been talking to so many of the residents and just hearing how excited and happy people are to live in El Cerrito and how invested they are in keeping it this wonderful place. I have 5 years, being a commissioner in City Hall, so I understand how City Hall works. I've been able to collaborate with counselors and city staff, and I'm learning more about the city. I signed up for the CERT classes because I want to learn more about the emergency preparedness. I've been talking with the fire department to get a better understanding of what we can do for our emergency preparedness. I'm really excited and want to take this energy and work for you. I really believe in being a good neighbor, and being a good neighbor starts with showing up, and I am ready to show up. So thank you.